This is Skate IQ, and here are 5 things that every bowl skater needs to know. Skate the bowl the way it was designed. Before you even drop in, what's the first thing you notice about the bowl? Every bowl is gonna be different. So the skill of being able to intuitively feel how you're gonna get in and out of the deep end is a skill you'll build over time. Pay attention to the obstacles that the designers put in the bowl to help you manipulate your lines or gain speed. A well-designed bowl will give you the opportunity to be creative and versatile with your lines. If you feel like you're fighting the bowl, like you're not gaining speed, or you keep running into a corner and not being able to turn through it, or the waterfalls are getting in your way, there might be some small changes that you can make that'll drastically improve the way that the bowl feels. So the first thing that stands out to me about this bowl is the way that the deep ends connect to each other. And I know that when I'm doing this line, it's up to me how fast I want to go, because this is one of the fundamental lines that the designers put in the blueprint for skaters to use. So in this case, we naturally have 2 frontside cars, in the deep end and the medium section, and it naturally puts you in the small corner to then continue the frontside line. And the cool thing about this bowl is it actually works both ways. As a goofy skater, I could go frontside, and backside in the small corner, and I can also go backside, and then frontside in the small corner. So I look at these 2 lines as kind of the most basic structure of the bowl. Everything I'm gonna do is built off of this fundamental idea that the deep ends are built to connect to each other in the same direction car. So when you're thinking about things that the developers put in the bowl to give you the opportunity to start manipulating your lines, you look at a soft hip like this, and you know that you can ride up and across the hip and hug this side very easily. And it feels pretty comfortable. Like it's not trying to push me out to flat. Right? It's a really nice tool, and we can kind of hug that wall all the way across and stay in, and use that as one of the ways to change direction. If you find yourself skating the long way down the bowl without your energy shifting across one way or the other, you're probably not getting the most out of it. So it's a good idea to feel your energy cross the bowl when you're doing figure 8s. And this one specifically feels really nice because we have this transition right here. So when we hug this wall to go frontside, that we can actually get a pump out of it, and then we're right into this side. It starts to feel a bit worse if we get stuck out here in no man's land and we end up just going straight across this flat zone. Makes a big difference when we can start using the transitions all the way across the flat bottom. Your lines are gonna change depending on your speed and skill level. So what I mean by that is that if you're only going this fast, the bowl might work in figure 8s a lot better. But when you start going faster, that might change and start to put you in different places, and that's okay. Just understand that there is a difference when you start picking up real speed. A good bowl will give you a lot of options, and as you gain speed, it should just start presenting more and more options for you. So when it comes to picking the place that you want to drop in, remember what I said earlier, where when you're going slower, the bowl is going to behave differently than when you're going fast. With that being said, You might not want to drop in straight to what your goal is. You can drop in somewhere else, let your speed build throughout your run, and that'll give you the best chance to hit your 1, 2, or 3 goals you have for that run. If I drop in here and I need a strong carve in the deep end to set my line up, it might take me this whole first lap to actually get the speed that I want that lets me hit my strong frontside carve. So I had to take a lap anyways, so why not plan for that and actually give yourself the chance to gain the speed over a couple of carves. Number 2, go high through corners. If your goal is to maintain or build speed, you need to learn how to carve high through the corners. One of the most common issues that I see is the tendency to stay low through the whole corner. Yes, it feels like you're getting a strong bump out of it, but in reality, most of our speed is gained by going up the quarter pipe and back down. So as we're going around the corner, we still want to make sure that we're going up and down. When you're carving low through the corner, yes, you'll feel more G's in the corner, but it doesn't give you anything on the way out. So try to fight that tendency and start going high through the corners. That's one surefire way to build and maintain your speed. The same thing can be applied to the deep end. Most of our speed is going to be coming from the fact that we're going up the transition and back down. I don't want to see you going across and carving down in this low spot and feeling like that's going to give you speed. Lean into the fact that as you go up the transition, you will slow down for a second, but that gives you the opportunity to have a strong pump on the way out. So that feeling versus this. My average speed was higher during the carve, but I didn't have anything on the way out. So really focus on the fact that we are going up and down. And the carve is more of a tool to take our speed from over here and put it over here. Grinds are more than just tricks. You can use grinds to help you change directions or carry your carves further. Going at like a very similar speed, a carve through this corner wants to put me out this way towards the camera. But if I lock into a grind, that'll hold me a lot further, and now I can come out of it this way. So grinds aren't just for points and they're not just for tricks. You can actually use them to fundamentally change your line and change where you're going in the bowl. In the same way we can use grinds to adjust our line, we can use airs over hips to change our lines as well. So imagine if we go straight up over this hip and come out this way, that's gonna put us in a completely different spot than if we float long off of the hip and come out this way. This is why they pay me the big bucks, you know? That's why we get 2 espressos. Those pulls were so bad this morning. The espressos were so bad this morning. Half pulls, broken machine. I want to paint the picture super clear, exactly what I'm talking about. So if I go straighter over this hip, I can actually get out of it by going towards this small corner. But if we go wide through the hip, I have the ability to carry my speed now down through the deep end. So it's a small change in the line where the straight one goes this way and the wide one goes this way. The impact after that is a huge difference in the run. As a little bonus tip, I want you to pay attention to how I got there. For the straight up air over the hip, I went backside in the deep end because that naturally puts me in the direction I want. And for the wider air, I went frontside in the deep end because that's putting me more towards where I want to go. So how far you have to plan ahead in bowl skating is one of the funnest parts actually. early on, that always messed with my head because going from vert skating is like trick, 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 trick. You never get a break. But for bowl skating, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 carves just to get your line working, and then you can go trick, trick, trick. Then you take a step back, build your line again, trick, trick, trick. It's a completely different rhythm, but I say lean into that. Let it take some time to develop your speed and your line, and it'll be a lot of fun. Tricks are for kids. And what I mean by that is if you're just going back and forth, prioritizing just doing as many tricks as you can, you're ignoring the fundamental reason that the bowl was built. So start with your lines. And then as you build comfort and as you gain speed, you can start putting your tricks in the line you already have, hopefully seamlessly. Now we're gonna do a deep dive into double dipping in the deep end. So when I ask students, hey, if you wanted to do 2 tricks in the deep end, back to back, what would you do? And this moment always happens like, oh, stop confusing me. But it's really quite simple. So I want you to pay attention. You see this seam down the ramp, how it's pointed almost directly at the camera. And then we have this seam that's pointing all the way over there. And we have this seam that is pointing back into the deep end. So I want you to think as each part of the bowl as a quarter pipe facing straight down. And we can break it into 3 sections. The middle section is the quarter pipe that is facing directly out of the deep end back into the shallow. We have this section on the left side that's facing directly at the other face wall. And the same thing with the third section on the right. So if we want to do 2 tricks in the deep end, the first thing we have to do is come straight out in line with the quarter pipe. Once we get that, we just have to place our carve in the right spot. So when we come straight out, now we're just looking at the face wall again. So usually in a carve, you go up and around and you just let it come out wide. But when we want to start hitting the deep end twice in a row, when we're at the top, we can tighten that carve up, we can turn sharper and come down the wall completely straight. So here's what that looks like just in the middle section. We can come out of the wall straight, but we're not in the right section. So if I want to hit 2 frontside carves in a row, I can do that same carve on the right side of the deep end, and it'll put me right where I want to go. A really good way to solidify this point, to make sure you understand it, is to stand or sit somewhere on the coping and just do a knee slide and see where it puts you. Okay, you do a knee slide down this wall, you end up here. How can you finish your carve or grind in that spot? Because that's gonna send you right across. And as always, you can apply it to backside too. And you can add grinds to it if you want. Arguably, grinds make it easier to straighten out your carve, right? If I'm up on the coping, it's gonna be easier to drop straight in than if I'm just carving around, but both are completely doable. Mess with them, gain a feel for it. You get twice as many tricks in the deep end in one line.